Governor, a lot of people have questions about question 4 since it passed so overwhelmingly last night. Can you walk us through the next days and weeks on implementing that? And are you going to appoint a drug czar or a team to oversee the implementation?
Well, I mean, question 4 was a 6,000-word ballot question, so there's a lot of to-dos associated with that. And I fully believe that the Speaker, the Senate President, myself, everybody, the State Treasurer is interested in making sure that we honor the will of the voters on this one. But I do think there will be conversations that take place to make sure that we come together around an approach and a strategy to this that assures that we deliver on what's expected and anticipated here, but at the same time we have a commitment to make sure that we deal with some of the public safety and public health issues.
Are you going to appoint a drug czar? Or do you have anybody in mind?
I don't think the legislation calls for me to appoint a drug czar. I think the legislation, as it's currently written, calls for the governor to set up an advisory council and calls for the treasurer to basically create something that would be kind of a sister agency to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission that would reside and operate out of the treasurer's office.
Governor, you made the argument that question 4 would be terrible for public health and safety. I'm wondering, will you press to change the law, or will you just work to implement it in what you and the legislature see as the best way possible?
I think it's probably going to be, the answer is I'm not sure. It's going to depend to some extent on the conversation that we have with the folks in the legislature and others. But you know, our view on this is the people spoke, and we're going to honor that. And but we need to make sure that we implement this in a way that is consistent with a lot of the rhetoric and the dialogue that took place during the course of the campaign, which is that it will be done in a way that does protect public safety and ensure that only those who are supposed to have access to these products will.
Governor, do you try to tackle?
Governor, with the conversation on with marijuana, the conversations that you mentioned are going to take place, could one of them possibly involve the tax rate on marijuana in the new law, which is much lower than in some of the western states like Colorado and Washington?
I think we're going to take a look at whatever elements we need to look at to make sure that this thing gets implemented in an efficient and effective way. I don't want to go through, for example, sort of the disconnects and the false starts that were associated with the state's implementation of the medical marijuana law, which I think, as everybody knows, by the time we took office, we hadn't opened a single dispensary in Massachusetts, and we were 2 years behind the effective date of that law. I think it's important that we move as briskly as we can. We take a look at everything. We do what we believe is consistent with the law's intent, and at the same time is considered to be what I would call responsible and timely.
Would you be open to a higher tax rate?
I'm not going to speak to any particular elements of this until we have a chance to actually take a much deeper look at it.